For a team that flew through the National League, League 2 and League 1, Wrexham have hit their first hurdle in the Championship. As Phil Parkinson is questioned, and even the owner had to respond to the questions around his management and if he was the right man to keep on taking Wrexham forward. The club have spent big in their transfer windows, now needing to spend even bigger, which is why I'm stepping in to the Wrexham Hollywood shadow that needs to go back into the sun and win the biggest trophies in world football. As the owner would want, as yes people, here we go. Wrexham is back on the channel, and I am using live points. Not fully accurate yet. I don't know what's happening here with career mode, but we've got Norwich down in 23rd. I can't believe that. Wrexham in 17th. Oh, sorry, 15th with 17 points. And this is the team that I have been playing. I don't get the formation, but yeah. The players I do get. Brilliant signings like Ben Sheaf, Issa Kabor and Josh Windass. Mix of experience and youth, putting them together, and it hasn't got rocking. Probably the way that the board wanted to, and we've got £7 million to spend. However, we've used live points, so we are not at the end of the season yet, or in a transfer window, as you can see. Portsmouth we play next, in a relegation battle, you've got to say, more than an actual promotion one. I think Parkinson comes off the back of a good result against West Brom at the time of recording, or maybe even Charlton, but even I'm questioning these tactics. As we've got to change, we've got to go to a 4 at the back, I would say. The 4-1-4-1 could work with Kiefer Moore. The big striker up front, 33, 72 overall. Might not last the entire save, and I do need to get out this balanced mentality. Going for the high line, as I do like the fullback still. I'm going to change Clayworth to a ball player, same as Hyam. And speaking of high, the wingers are actually going to be attacking, so they're not like left mids and right mids, basically wingers, basically a 4-3-3. With Ben Sheaf going to be the middleman, I am going to maybe take Clayworth out, but then again, on the bench, I've not heard good things about Callum Doyle. Seems to be struggling, but he's a left-footed centre-back, and I know I love those kind of players and trust them. As Kaká say, this team needs a real big shuffle around. To this, I think I'm going to go with. Now, Longman is the lowest-rated player overall. Windass I'm going to train to be a centre-mid and stay in this team as the playmaker, as Broadhead made that big money move back to his boyhood club. As after 14 appearances, Kiefer Moore has scored the most goals, and we've got to keep him ticking up there. We can't make any signings anyway, so I think I'm going to put some money into coaches and let this team run. And it's been a weird one, because when I got the coaches in after that, going into the season, I could not find any good start attacking ones, which obviously we do have an old striker, but it wouldn't have helped him anyway. We've got Smith, Hardy, and now Kiefer Moore to a 69 overall. Rodriguez is going down. He's joining Hearts at the end of the window, because I thought if I don't sign up contracts, a few players are actually young right there, like James Rainburn, but he's not going to play. We may have more of a wage budget to dance with going into next season, because this squad does need a turnaround, despite actually being called Wrexham, and Wrexham having a good potential overall as a club. Ben Sheaf, the best rated player, and he's not young, Tommy Doyle is, so he's going to stay in the team. Kakase, basically I've got a plan for most of these players, but these ones nearer the right-hand side. We may actually be losing, as Brunt does okay on the bench, Cleworth the same, Tomasen, Barnett. The squad is in two halves, as Longman wasn't the top scorer, same as Kiefer Moore, who didn't score again. O'Brien got 9 and 4 assists. So yeah, we've not made a signing yet, and it has proven difficult. The first season in the Championship for Wrexham ends in 18th. 4 points off Blackburn going down, and something Wrexham's done well with is stealing from teams that have faced relegations like Broadhead. So we might have to keep some of them teams in mind. I know Charlton have got a rivalry with Wrexham at the moment because of the manager, Nathan Jones, as we lose to Leicester in the FA Cup and a Welsh derby in the round of 16 of the Carabao. Didn't that happen in real life? I think it did. It's the Championship playoffs. Now, if them teams right there like Preston, and Bristol can make it. You've got to ask, why can't we? Now I'm going to need some support to try and get us promoted, and you guys can support the channel by hitting the subscribe and like button, as we are on the road to 70,000 subscribers, as 12 million is a subscriber amount I'd like, but that is our budget. Maybe one day, eh? I'm only joking. As you can see the league table, we've got Stevenage in this division. I think this is a championship for the taking. Pretty sure still I saw Brighton and Brentford in this division, as I'm going to focus on a few positions. Now, if you stick with me, I think we've got a goalie already replacement on the bench, so we need a right back, a centre mid, a striker, and then maybe any money left for a centre back would be useful, as we do have Paul Mullin back from Wigan, Farl, Mendy, Ashfield, Revan, and O'Connor already as signings. As did he actually leave the club? Yes, of course he did. He went to Swindon. Ollie Palmer will not play for us. Still, I am going to try and replace him, but a replacement I really do like is a man over at Pompey, and the first name on the scout report, with Portsmouth struggling as well and Wrexham having a lot of money, Terry Devlin, the Northern Irishman, is our first signing. Not only is he very young, he is very good statistically and offers a range of positions, so that's going to be our first, hopefully long-term man. With the next one up, Windass. He needs replacing before we go with the big money move of a striker, and I have a striker in mind. Now we just need to focus on the midfield position. However, we want to dance through. Wrexham have danced to so many promotions, so I want to buy the best of the best, and that may require selling some good players to increase our budget, and the man that's getting replaced after this is gone. Kiefer Moore moves out the club. He's going to Young Boys, which he's definitely not one of. We've got Elliot Lee, another man from the National League days, going to Randers, and there goes Danny Ward. He's leaving Wrexham once again. Sure, he came through their academy, is now 14 mil. We've sold some other players. A bid pending for Paul Mullin, as the centre mid is actually on the cheaper side. This is Bobby Clark. He's only 21 and does have some potential in him. Wasn't he at Derby not long ago? That was a decent move away for him. And he kind of looks like a Windass regen with an opposite kit who could potentially grow, and I have a big striker in mind. I've wanted him from the start, and that is Damien Downs. Now, I know he made the move to Southampton, but with one owner of Wrexham, Rob McElhenney, being from the United States, if he could have a word with Southampton and pay a premium for him, as he is home. And I say that like it's another Wrexham player returning from the academy to the club. Now, they are good, but no, I believe this guy was made to come to Wrexham, and he never did. He went to Southampton. I never saw any rumours, by the way. I just thought he looked a perfect fit. And with the Saints not doing very well, Wrexham have been known for stealing players from fellow championship clubs, like Broadhead, like we did with the Devlin. Doyle the same. Longman came from Hull. O'Brien had a spell at Blackburn, I believe. Benchy from Coventry. I really like the team he is building around him, as he looks the central man. +4, Kakase +4, Doyle +4, a +5, a +7, +7. We did have a lot of stars on the goalkeeper coaches, but I still didn't expect that, as Ryan Longman scored 16 goals. That's more than last season, with O'Brien. Downs only getting 9, but being 22, and I'm guessing, yep, I guessed correctly, the goal scoring is dominated by the clubs you'd expect. The Brightons, Brentfords, and Leicesters of the world. Ben Brereton Diaz has stepped into Down's position. Sargent, that's another American I didn't actually think about, as there we go. Longman with 16. All the way near the bottom of that ranking, as we finish all the way near the top, 70 points. A few of us stuck on that margin. Yes, I would have liked the playoffs, but them two teams were always going to run away with it. Then you've got Leeds, Leicester, Southampton, who were downless, and Ipswich. I think the strongest 6 teams there have got into the playoffs, as we lose to Rotherham, Oliver Rathbone's old club, on penalties in the FA Cup. In our shifting season here for Wrexham, we still can't shift a Prem team. Bournemouth thrashes 4-0. We've still got a lot of championship work to do here, as I think centre-back last season was our weakest, with Connor Cody running off. Now, Hyam, Definitely not going with him. I'm going with Cleworth. But he's still the man we could replace. Devlin didn't grow too much. No idea how he's now the captain. And O'Brien, probably one of the oldest. Out of the rest of them, of course, Broad as well. But I think we'll do better with a winger in the Premier League once we obviously get to it. So yeah, centre-back and centre-mid backup are the calls with 10 million to spend. That's 5 million on each player. And firstly, Phil Parkinson, I'm sorry, I was not familiar with your game. Questioning the man that got Wrexham all them promotions up to the point we're at now. Something I shouldn't have done. So let's check the coaches. Now, Sunderland seem a panic. Getting rid of the backup, you've got John Carver going to Harrogate. I forget he's actually coaching. João Pereira, a new Wolves boss. That's very interesting. What about the Championship? Any well-known names here? Maybe from the relegated clubs? Well, there's one for you straight away. Ruben Amorim, the United boss at Ipswich Town, who did fail to get promoted through those playoffs. So despite having Ruben, we can definitely take a look at them. Now, we don't need strikers. We do need a centre-back here. Jacob Greaves could be an option, but we do have a left-footed one. Elkan Bagot from Indonesia. Dara O'Shea, experienced. But no, I don't like the look of any of those options. If they've got a young centre mid, which they don't, I could have taken him. The youngest being Jason Cullen, who I'm not going to use. So for the first time, I'm going to look in the league below. The centre mid I want to sign, only to be a backup, and Jake Richards. The cheaper, the better, and whilst in the Championship, this man has the potential to grow. Going onto our bench there, only a prospect role for him, but I never realised on the bench, down here, we do have Thomason, who was signed from Bolton. So I tell you what, Richards is going to be our CDM. Yes, it does say he can play cam as well, if we did try and train him there, but I'm going to trust him to be a little further back with them stats. 62 defending, so 8 million. Centre-back. Wrexham. Who fits the bill? Obviously, I don't want to go too old. Connor Cody and Hyam level. And maybe to get into the Premier League, we do look at the Premier League level now. Of signings, like I say, though, I am desperate not to go too old with whoever it is. So if there isn't one here, we will move on to a different country. I'd love to find someone. Sonny Aljafre. Wasn't he on loan at Notts County? There's Max Alenye of Manchester City. Very good potential. But the man I'm going to land on is Nasser Ndija from Wolves, who was loaned out to Rangers. I'll show you him in a minute, as the league is not over. There is one game left for Bristol City against Leeds, who have won the title, but we're promoted in the third season, usually how it goes. Can we win the Champions League 3 seasons from now? Who knows? That is the aim we're going to go for. As Wrexham to the Premier League, just what Ryan and Rob wanted. However, they probably didn't want that. A quarter-final exit to Newcastle in the Cup, before Aston Villa on penalties in the round of 16 of the Carabao. That is gutting for old Wrexham, but old Wrexham now newly in the Prem, and I'm buzzing for it because I think it's time we got there. And this team, O'Brien's hit an 80, Ashif has hit an 83 somehow. The two 30-year-olds done very well. We've got Longman, who keeps scoring but won't get to that 80. The defence, Doyle at an 83, Okonkwo at an 80. Surely something to do with the scouts, because the goalkeeping department is very stacked. Plus, you can see Okonkwo only has competition from Burton and competition from Hobson, a youth player you won't see me using, as +4s all round, and a +3 for the new man, 6'4", Nasser Ndija. Like I said, was on loan at Rangers in that first season, and reminds me of Issa Kabor, both being from Burkina Faso. The reason why I went and signed him as our top scorer once again, it is Ryan Longman, and he's the man we might replace in the Premier League. Same with O'Brien, because let's not ignore the facts, he's getting old as Jake Richards, improving in his defending, but still not Premier League level. And now it's actually concerning, because you've got to remember, we didn't win the Championship. We were not the best team there, but we have got a bigger budget, probably than Leeds United. 60 million to survive. That's the first aim of this first season. Now, O'Brien's not getting replaced. We've got to replace the gaps in our squad to stay here. A strong Premier League and strong objectives. Finishing mid-table, reaching the round of 16. I'd love to win a cup here with Wrexham. To bring one back to Wales, remembering Swansea's days of actually winning trophies. Or the trophy, the Carling Cup. I think it was was called, and now Longman's over 80 rated. We don't have to focus there. It is right back again that's the weakest. It's because Devlin is the captain. I couldn't spit it out then, but it just has to be. There's no other explanation. We've got Ndija, not too good. Bobby Clark the same. Midfield could do with some work. Maybe a winger on the bench because Broadbent's getting older and this bench is getting weaker. No decent goalkeeper and no winger at all, with Sam Smith being the only man there who passed us down on the way to the championship. Now Everton I didn't realise. And also we've got Burnley, who have a decent backup keeper here, Max Vibes. Or Vice. I'm going to have a go at trying to pronounce it correctly. I did get told in the comments about the German S's. So he's going to sign on the dotted line. And also, this tall man is being Tim Irogbunham. He's come from Everton, who were recently relegated. And I think replaces Richardson very well, or Richards. With Tomasin, I haven't spoke on him as much as the youngster we signed. He's pretty okay. And Irogbunham, young, or 25, younger than Sheaf, with Broadhead the next to probably go out of the team due to getting older, or not even go out of the team but just not get played as much. He can play numerous positions, so we do have a very versatile player on our hands, but we need a out and out player. Remember when we signed Downs? I was hyping him up as the next big thing because he was a USA player, and there's another one here who is just affordable, Christian Pulisic, but we have signed this man before, so I'm going to say no to an American on this occasion. And Canada, unfortunately, could not find a right mid for us, apart from Tajon Buchanan, who is one of the most criminally underrated players in the game. I'm pretty sure he scored hat-tricks for Villarreal and used to be a right back. So EA, make him better, please, as we're going to search for a Wrexham player in La Liga. They've signed from the Serie A before in Kakase, the right back we have. Abdul Fattah, who's been there and done that with Leicester City. Experienced in the Premier League, but there's something about Carlos Alvarez, the small man from Levante, a team I never focus upon. Really looks like a Wrexham fit if he can get playing like Broadhead does. And how have we done that? We signed one big player in Alvarez for the first team. Wrexham going to a Leicester. We have won the title in our first season. Even Leicester didn't do that. We're 83 points in the Premiership. Sees us fly above Manchester City, Arsenal, Liverpool, Newcastle, Spurs. I'm guessing Chelsea and United are down here. And that is an instant Premier League trophy, trumping anything Swansea and Wales have done. All the other Welsh clubs, I don't believe it. We've actually just won the Premiership title and got ourselves into Europe. Bristol Rovers went far in the FA Cup. We were beaten by Arsenal, but we must have beat them in a head-to-head to make that final, as Carabao Cup now goes to Palace, doing the FA Cup and that now. And Arsenal again. In the Carabao, we did make the semi-finals, giving us a tremendous run, and we finished above Liverpool and Arsenal, so we could potentially win the Champions League in our 4th season. Rapid Vienna? What were they doing in 7th? But more importantly, what is this team doing now? Alvarez signed him at an 82, now an 85. I think we signed him at that anyway. We've got O'Brien still growing. I put Broadhead onto the left. I think Longman's better than him at the moment, as we haven't had a big squad. We do have big ratings, big personalities, a Wrexham fan base that has probably soared us to this Premier League title, meaning within 7 years, Wrexham have gone from winning the National League to winning the Premier League. It's either 7 or 8, one of those two numbers. And is there anyone here that's gone the whole way with us? I think Brunt joined in League 1. Could be wrong with that. And Clearworth, did he join Wrexham in the National League days? I'm going to try and insert a picture on screen of when Wrexham first got him in through their academy, as Damien Downs scores 25. I told you it was a match made in heaven. Reached the quarterfinal as well in our first season here in the Champions League. I was about to say the Premier League, but we completed that aim, and now they just want a Europa spot. With 111 million to spend as a team. Wonderful. Just wonderful business. Now we need to get to actually trying to compete at the top level permanently, making sure it isn't a one-season wonder, as on the bench, Ryan Hardy and Tom Masson definitely need replacing. I'm going to trust Seb Revan. I think money could be used elsewhere. Maybe Kakase replaced in the future, or definitely actually, Devlin. We could drop him to the bench, get another player in at right back, and go from there, as there's a player that was in the Wrexham Academy, just like Broadhead and Danny Ward, who did make returns. It was either in the Academy or he's from Wrexham. It's one of those two. I definitely know that for a fact. And that is Neco Williams, who hasn't grown too much over at Mönchengladbach. I would have loved to actually get him in, but I think because of our season and our first season in the Premier League being a title-winning one, I'm going to have to reject him. We need to be going for the big stars, maybe the next Hakimi somewhere, and maybe that somewhere is Osasuna, because Zakaria El Ouaudi, who's 83 overall, another player coming from La Liga, a player experienced in Europe with Bruges, if I'm not mistaken, or was it Ghent? Or Genk, straight into the first team, as we're going to take a break on that for a moment and work on these two bench positions, centre mid and striker. Now, I know obviously Wrexham is in Wales, the 2W, so I do want some Welsh players in. Surely there's someone of quality to keep the theme of Welsh players alive, and Jordan James is perfect. And now I've seen his face, I think I remember I've signed this guy so many times in Wrexham saves. It's unbelievable, but now we have a decision to make. He's not going to be a starter. One, over these two players, I think I'm going to choose Longman over Broadhead now. And two, on our defence. And Deja is 80 rated. Do we win the league with him again? And his backup, Brunty? I don't think we do. So if we can sell Deja for around 20 million himself, that gives us 71 for a striker and starting centre-back, which I would love. Or we could go with 60 million, just sell Lewis Brunt on his own, because Como and Fabregas want him. So I ain't going to stand in his way. He's got an in-game face off to the Serie A, giving them an extra license, because most of their teams aren't licensed anyway, apart from when you mod the game. So centre-back before backup striker, and we won't actually go La Liga. We're going to try the rest of the world. Literally, as come on, give us someone with a bit of potential. Give us someone over 80 rating. If not, we're not going to go here. And no, very disappointing. I really wanted a hidden gem. Maybe there's some gems over in the Bundesliga, maybe an American, because American players like Sargent, like, what's his name, Aronson, is it? Did enjoy playing over here, but Justin Graf, a young potential Cologne player, despite not being too much of an increase on Ndisha, I'm gonna take the risk upon, alongside a risk on a striker, because no one's really replacing Damien Downs at the moment. Oh my days. And just look at the shape that this team is taking. 88s all round. 84s, no one lower than the 83. Graf in the defence has been amazing. 22-year-old. Then El Odawi at the side of him. Hasn't he got a Moroccan brother in the game? Or someone with a name that sounds similar. And on the bench, that striker you saw was Mateo Joseph joining the club. Now, all over 80s apart from the goalie. Fantastic stuff. Now, if we could go for the Prem again, I wouldn't be surprised with the amount of 88s. Last season was a shock, but now it ain't. If we can do it as Ben Sheath, the captain, now 32. It's always when there's a captain involved that they just decide to go downhill permanently and get replaced, as Carlos Alvarez will not be taking that armband. If Sheath goes as Lewis O'Brien, he's gone up +3, but he's 31 himself. Damien Downs has done pretty well, and Wrexham do have a track record of growing players. Just look at Paul Mullin from the National League to the Championship. Yes, they got rid of him finally for Wigan, but he did last a long while. And Damien Downs, what a striker. He's found his home as O'Brien, 18 goals. Worth taking a mental note, as only one draw in the league. 8 defeats is a lot, but we still stay on top of Manchester City, who I did see by the Team of the Year have Ibanez in the defence, which is an old man, so replacing a youngster is surely going to move them second, which they've remained as we've jumped over them, and the Community Shield is actually won. A trophy I don't like to count, as Leicester City are trying to do well from the Championship, not actually getting promoted, but still fighting upwards. Oh, and that's embarrassing. A Welsh derby lost 4-0, as we lost the semi-finals 4-0 in one leg of the Carabao. But hey, maybe it's because we put all our effort into the Champions League. 8 goals conceded, 24 goals scored, or 24 goals scored. I can't speak. I get excited when I see the Champions League. Roma beating us 4-2 overall. And how could a team have so many players on international duty, have 2 title wins against all the odds of City, of Liverpool and Arsenal, but then come up absolutely shocking in the Champions League after winning the league phase? No draws, no defeats. It's crazy, and I threw shade on Phil Parkinson, but if I'm not careful with this 145 million, he could be taking his job back very shortly. Rob and Ryan will be on the phone, as we need to be on the phone to a centre mid. Like I say, O'Brien is 31, and Bobby Clark, yes, he's 25 only, but he's not hit the heights I wanted to. Our bench is fully fixed. This is one of the first times ever I've gone into a season fully confident of the bench. It's all about finding a world-class centre mid, but before we actually check one of those, there is a wonder kid doing very well. Of course, we saw he made the move to Bournemouth. Rio Nguma is 84 rated. Now, he would cost almost a third of our budget, and I do want to try and get a world-class player in. He could be one in the future, but with the likes of Longman and Broadhead, I think I'm going to miss out on Rio. Really good player. I do think could be a title winner here. If we were chasing a third title, but we need Champions League quality. And I'm not going to check the Premier League. I'm going to check the winners of it, or very recent winners. PSG for their players. Now, they've got 2 Portuguese players. It looks like João Neves and João Neves' regen. As options, Abreu, Neves, and then actually the older version. It goes up from young Portuguese to old one in Vitinha, who I'm actually going to have a word with because I think he's an absolutely silky player. Luis Enrique is still in charge of them, and I'm going to offer £110 million, which is accepted, so we potentially could have Vitinha in, but I'm going to hold out on it. I'm going to look if there's any cheaper alternative options. As you guessed it, I've gone ahead and built another shortlist together, but Vitinha is 91. It's a big risk because he is 30 years of age, but formationally he fits, and I'm going to show you in a second why he really does so. He's going to take a huge wage, but Rob and Ryan, if they do want to dance with the UCL, they have to start paying these wages, as we've got higher wages to pay still, with Vitinha hardly changed. Now, O'Brien, yes, is in the playmaker role, but Vitinha is in the role O'Brien just scored 18 goals last season from. And come the end, this is how it looks. We've got 90s in the squad right now. 3 90s because Vitinha, despite his age, has not gone down. The midfield 3 of Vitinha, O'Brien and Sheaf, as they're all on that first page, is amazing. We've got Downs at a 91 overall. Carlos Alvarez, I just went on a whim to try and sign from La Liga. Bring a bit of Spanish flair to Wrexham, who are predominantly Welsh, or were in their first seasons, and English, but now they are worldwide, with an American scoring 40 goals. I keep saying the ownership link will love that with one of their own, or with one of Rob McElhenney's own, because Ryan Reynolds is firmly from Canada, a Canadian, which I never could just sign in this rebuild. And 3 seasons so far in the Premier League. Wrexham have won the league in all of them, which is just balmy. It's balmy because we've always took more defeats than City, who keep drawing. Why do you keep drawing, Man City? You're costing yourself at this moment. Absolutely unbelievable. As Wales dominates England, but the Community Shield is dominated by Liverpool. However, we do pick up one of our first trophies, a domestic one, apart from the Prem, which is mental saying, the FA Cup. So that's 4 major domestic ones. Now searching for the Champions League, as the Carabao is heartbreaking. A loss in the finale, which could have made it a domestic treble. However, still the treble is on, and I love that we've done worse this season in the Champions League. No pressure in coming first, meaning we do get through the round of 16. Atletico de Madrid are beaten, before Bayern are absolutely obliterated, moved to the side, nilled 3-0, before a 0-0 at Arsenal, but a 1-0. I don't know why. I just didn't look at the aggregate again, thinking it was going to be a 0-0 somehow. But obviously it isn't, because we've got to make it to the finale in Manchester against Manchester City at their rival ground, Old Trafford. Never mind though, never mind. They have changed the location. I like that they've actually kept it in England for our 3rd trip to the capital. We won the FA Cup and we made the Carabao Cup finale, where City actually lifted a trophy. So one of these 2 teams here will be lifting their 2nd trophy at Wembley in this season. That is mental. And City look a very young team right here. A very quick team as well, with Erling Haaland looking to get in behind. I'm just going to try and stand up as Haaland sneaks in behind very well right there. Echeverry, footwork, Graf with the first tackle in, and O'Brien, who is an old man, playing against some young City players, needs to pick out the correct pass. He goes into Alvarez. Bryan back on the edge. It's Sheaf into Vitinha against one of his old teammates, Gianluigi Donnarumma. Terrible pass from our right back there, and Haaland is going to try and set off. Almost cost us there, but our midfield is so much better than City's, I'd say. Vitinha with another shot. Let's just keep stacking these on target before one of them actually goes in. And Damien Downs now to the right-hand side. Need to get that through the middle. And Alvarez does. Into Damien Downs again. Look at the acceleration of pace. And he scored with 10 minutes to go in the first half. Look at the sea of red shirts in the Wrexham Wembley end. Fantastic give and go around the defender. And it was Ruben Diaz, so you can understand the pace boost. And Donnarumma, no chance at his side netting. Not a lead I expected to take, as Damien Downs into Luke O'Brien. Is it Luke O'Brien? I don't know. He's going to pass it back. Give and go again, despite being the old player. And Damien Downs, why not go again? As it helped us avoid the counter-attack, and Graf into O'Brien once more. Vitinha to turn and face and turn and run. Feed the winger in Longman, who can't do the skill none of our players can do against Samuel. Who the heck is he? Okonkwo, though, picks out El Adawi down the line. And O'Brien in front of him. Downs making a decent darting run. He's got the ball. Now needs to drop it off again. Around the side of him, it's Alvarez who will go low. And that mistake is on Gianluigi Donnarumma. Carlos Alvarez with a very nice goal, but the keeper should save it. I do want to see the replay as Wrexham celebrate a double. Let's see once more. It's a reverse ball of the return ball from before. And that is our small Spaniard, who doesn't have any right to score it. Terrible mistake from the goalkeeper. Savinho running at us here, though. We've got an hour gone on the clock, and that is an excellent tackle by Graf. And could we get more here against Manchester City? When I do play against these in a finale with Wrexham, I believe the last time I did, it was a high scorer, and we beat them 9-0. An excellent save, and another player that actually did come from League 2 with Wrexham to where we are now, and Vitinha. That's an excellent pass off balance. O'Brien, Alvarez. Vardiol's actually watching him a bit better right now, and Ben Sheaf. Has that hit the hand of Diaz? And that mark potentially being the final one in this game. It's a terrible throw-in, but referee, don't give them time. He doesn't. He blows the whistle to make Hollywood dreams come true for Hollywood FC. Wrexham, I don't know if they'll like to be called that, but they were bought by Hollywood owners. Ryan Reynolds, Deadpool, Rob McElhenney, Mac from Always Sunny. And there's Ben Sheaf from Coventry, who came across to Wrexham to have dreams of doing this, and he's finally done it with Vitinha at the side of him. As if you want to stand at the side of me and really help me with these videos, suggest some down below, and leave a subscribe and like on the video.